when someone tears down others to make themselves look like the only solution and then uses my...
This is the second time that he has used the word tear down others.
And to be clear, I don't want this video to come off as hate. He's careful to not attack people personally in his...
There you have it, folks. There you have it. He's careful not to attack people personally, but I don't like it when he tears people down. Bro, which is it? This is how disgusting this is, you know? Deep down inside, you know I don't attack anybody personally, but what is this video about? You trying to attack me personally. So there's just one concept on my channel, basically, which is, when has it ever been better to sell something in singles rather than in multiples? Singular versus plural, okay? So when they try to reframe it as, you know, we like doing things our way, we don't want to do it your way, his way, my way, I don't know what this ideology is about, because I sell things in multiples. Pretty sure that there are people way before us that have been selling things in multiples instead of one-off sales. So when we compare the two, clearly one is better than the other because one garners more sales than the other. And if your only cop-out is to, well, I just don't want to do it that way, then don't. But to lump in the whole thing of like Pegasus is trying to make it us versus them, that's where it gets weird. I'm just one person versus all of you. Where do you get the us and the them part? Am I part of the us or am I part of the them? Because I'm just one guy. So today's video, okay, is my response to Second Chance Picker. Now, they finally resorted to, since they can't refute any of my talking points ever, they have to resort to lying. And a lot of lying, and a lot of disingenuous things. So we'll just start off right here in his description. It's not just the description, he pastes it again as his pinned comment. So it says, Pegasus, if you happen to see this, I'm open to being wrong about what you're trying to do, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I try to approach everything with an abundance mindset and then welcome you to the reselling community. I am blocked on this channel. I just found out about this video 7 days ago, and I've been blocked before that. So just starting from there, okay, this thing is just backwards. Now, here's the thing. No, throughout this whole video, he doesn't refute the video that I made about him, which is this one. And this is what I originally had to say, because it doesn't carry emotional weight.
Increase sales on the eBay platform. And in fact, padding reviews is kind of common practice, whether it's Amazon farming reviews.
Ooh, this is a really bad take.
Business asking for a positive review.
See, now you just framed it as padding reviews. Okay, so what happened here is that he had a really bad take trying to correlate the whole, you know, eBay automated feedbacks when people don't leave a feedback. So then eBay will just default it as everything was copacetic and then leave it as auto positive. So he frames this as padding reviews, which is kind of like, you know, shilling for a company. Now, the difference is that when somebody pads a review, you don't know if it's padded or not. That's what padding a review is. But when we go over to, like, you know, eBay over here, you could toggle show automated feedback, and then it'll say eBay automated feedback right here. So it's crystal clear that there's no collusion going on. And then later on over here, I highlight that in his own comment area, his own followers called him out on this. And instead of, you know, saying, yeah, okay, that was probably a bad take, he doubled downs on it here. And then they call him out even further. And it's all being called out by different people. So that's what originally happened here. Okay, so because he can't refute this, he has no clapback for this whatsoever. Now he's going to make this video trying to create a different narrative, and I'm going to show you that all the evidence that he has on screen is about to blow up in his face.
$2,000 coaching program, I feel the personal need to step in, not just to protect myself, but to also protect this community. Typically, when I create a YouTube video,
You mean protect your subscribers? That's what you really mean. Because ultimately, I've said that this was going to happen, right? That I am the only threat to all of their subscribers. Because if I help people level up, if I help them evolve, if I help them achieve more, then they won't be resellers anymore, and then they won't watch this content anymore. But truthfully, look, there's always going to be new people. There's always going to be other people joining, and not everybody wants to do exactly what I'm doing. So I post a video for anybody who cares to learn. End of story. I find it silly to walk into a free seminar and then sit, disagree with it, and then try to find me later and then contact me just to let me know that you're not interested. If you're not interested, then just move on. But for those who are interested, I'm here to help them. But this, okay, watch what he's about to do.
I create a rough outline and then just start talking to the camera, making sure I hit my points. However, in today's video, you're going to notice that I'm almost completely reading directly from a script. That is because this is a sensitive topic, and I want to be clear, fair, and careful with my words.
Clear, fair, and careful. Okay, you said that.
I will be calling out a behavior that I believe crosses the line, and I don't want emotions to get in the way of this message.
This is exactly why when I first started the channel, I got a whole bunch of, you just want to sell a course, you know, you just want people to join your Facebook group. Like, I don't have a course, I don't have a Facebook group, but like, you know, I got lumped in with the rest of these people anyway.
Okay, so here's where it begins to get intellectually dishonest. So if anybody, you know, watching it on his channel, they're going to be like, oh yeah, Pegasus is terrible. But anybody who's from my channel or anybody who's a free thinker will just pause and then read what it says right now. So let's just blow it up into the main capture right here. It says USP development, full product manufacturing management, sales setup optimization, and ongoing guidance. Look, this is not a course at all. It's barely even a mentorship. This is full service. I help you produce your item. I help you innovate your item. I help you launch your item. You hire me to do the work for you, and you learn by watching me do it. Who offers something like that? I help you produce your product. It is both guidance and brokerage at the same time. Who else is helping you import stuff and handling all of the shipment as well, the logistics, the tariffs, like everything taken care of for you? How you figure this is some kind of course? So why try to paint it that way? So right off, okay, this is you know, disingenuous number 2.
Because it's just, you know, like people have had it with this stuff, right? And then you're gonna make a video pretty much like, you know, rubbing it in people's faces. That's really what's going on.
I usually make videos about my reselling journey, what's worked for me, what hasn't, and the lessons I've learned along the way. But today I feel the need to talk about something that can genuinely hurt people who are just getting started in reselling. Reselling gurus. And more specifically,
reselling gurus that can hurt people. I agree. I'm not a reselling guru. So who are you talking about? Are you calling me a reselling guru? See, this is what I mean, right? Every video that these people put out, I'm a reseller, he's not a reseller. You know, how's he supposed to help people with reselling, you know, if he's not a reseller? Well, we don't want to do your type of reselling. Like, the words are just all over the place. Like, words don't mean words anymore out of these people's mouths.
Pegasus Lounge or Pegasus Vapor Academy.
We'll get into that.
A few weeks ago, someone sent me a link to a reaction video he made about me. It was a weird moment, seeing my face on the thumbnail for someone else's video right after hitting 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. I even texted my wife a screenshot and joked, guess I've made it because other people are using my face to get views on their channel. But this video isn't about me or what he said. It's about a bigger picture of what's being sold and how.
It's because you can't refute what I said about you.
My goal here is to help viewers understand the risks and motivations behind some of these so-called business experts.
Okay. I am a true business professional. And therefore, I make these videos to help you understand what is actually happening in this space.
If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know how I approach this whole thing. I don't make how-to videos, I make how-I videos.
Straw man argument immediately. I've never criticized your other like how I, whatever. I criticized that you had a really bad take on the whole feedback thing because you correlated it with padding and collusion, and it's not.
And there's a big
And nobody
difference.
agrees with you.
I never claim to be an expert or have all the answers. I'm still learning every single day. And
the purpose of my video was to point out how all this reseller content and the fact that on YouTube, there is only reseller content when it comes to eBay. There's nothing else above it. That's all there is. So what happens is that like the approach starts to become very myopic because there's no one else saying anything else. And that's why I also made all these videos showing you what the echo chamber is of constant confirmation bias.
I'm open about that. In fact, I often ask you guys to leave me your opinions in the comments, and I love to have discussions.
That is just about getting engagement because engagement helps with the views.
About strategy and what ideas work. But that's just my opinion. I'm curious to know what you guys think. So drop a comment down below and let me know.
Every ChatGPT script tells you to add like a call to action at the bottom, drop a comment down below.
If you think this, what I share are my own experiences and the things that have worked for me, and sometimes even the things that don't work for me. And honestly, I'd be the first person to tell you to not.
Another straw man argument. I've never even talked about those things before. Look, here's how I see it, okay? If I come across your channel, I should be able to sit in on any one of your videos, and if I disagree with it, I disagree with that video and just that video as is. What I said about your opinion regarding the feedback stuff has nothing to do with how many sales you made last week or how, you know, your journey or how well you did, you know, in the past quarter or something, or all the other positive things you said. And it's not supposed to take away from that stuff either. It's just one isolated incident.
Take advice from some random guy on the internet, including myself. I'm going to share my exact stories, exactly what I did, and exactly what I would do in the future in these situations. But I highly suggest that you don't take anyone's advice on the internet, including mine. Always do your own research and find what works for you and your business. If you have seen my video on pallet resellers selling to other resellers, that's quite the mouthful, this setup will sound super familiar to you. Number one, make yourself the expert. Number two, discredit everyone else. Number three, promise an easier and faster way to succeed. Number four, charge money for the secret. That's exactly what Pegasus is doing.
That's exactly what I'm not doing. I'm not selling any get rich quick. It's exactly my argument in the beginning. If you don't start with a sourcing strategy where you already know you could get more of it just in case it sells, then you know you're just always going out for the hunt, for the hunt, for the hunt. So what happens is that you have to start with a better sourcing strategy to begin with to make sure that the things that you try, the things that you sell, you could always get more of it, because that way there's a chance of virality with your listings. If you only have one copy of anything, there's no chance of business momentum. So he's a YouTuber. I'll explain it to you in YouTube form. If all of your videos can only get one view and then it's automatically taken down, then what is the chance of your videos going viral? There's no chance of it. So what happens is that when you remain as just a reseller and then you say, no, I'm good in my space right now, I'm going to stay in my lane and I'm just going to do the one-off items, you are hindering your own opportunities.
Positioning himself as the ultimate expert, claiming his way is the best way and everyone else is doing it wrong.
You are in the beginner space, are you not? How did you start? You start with a couple of things from home and then you go out to thrift stores now. There's nowhere to go but up. There's nothing lateral here. You could only go up from here. So what's the next move from singular? Plural. It's a binary thing. Okay, So between singular and plural, what's in between? You want to say dual? Dual would be multiple. It's the same idea, singular and plural. So do you want to sell multiple amounts of items out of the same listing? Does that make sense to do? That way you put up the one listing and then you try to grow an evergreen listing with replenishable products. How is this the Pegasus way? You give me too much credit. You think I really could coin something like that? This is the Pegasus way. Well, okay, what's the Pegasus way? Well, it's like, you find more of something so that you sell batch orders. Oh, you mean like how, your grandpappy's like, business also did it? Like how every general store had like a vendor that they just, get more apples and oranges from, and then they keep going. What are we talking about here? Why do you keep trying to, make it the us versus them and then just label it, oh, that's just a Pegasus's way? It's the obvious way.
His focus is on white labeling,
where this one's good.
Create your own branded products, get it manufactured, and sell it.
Create your own branded products, manufacture it, and sell it. One more time. Say it again.
Where you create your own branded products, get it manufactured, and sell it.
Disingenuous. What does it say on his screen? White labeling is when a company sells a generic product or service made by a third party under its own brand name. The primary risks include lack of control over product quality, limited brand differentiation from competitors, and potential reputational damage if the third-party manufacturer makes a mistake. So what is white labeling exactly? Don't use words you don't understand, sir. That's the problem here, okay? I'll explain it to you. There's two paths under private label: white labeling and custom labeling. The difference between the two is how much creative control that you have. White labeling is when you take existing inventory that factories are already producing in mass, and then you say, give me some and let me try, because I don't know what works. Let me try this. This might be hot, etc., etc. And then you try to learn by doing. You try to sell some and then see what the feedback is, and then go back and see, okay, I need to change the color. I need to change the size. I want to add certain accessories. We need a little something else to it. Now you've moved from white labeling into custom labeling. But you can't do that right in the beginning, because custom labeling is a higher minimum order quantity. So when people white label, they're trying to use a minimal value proposition so that they don't get too ahead of themselves. So white labeling is good to get, test the waters, to just get your feet wet a little bit. That's what it's actually for. Just to say that I'm white labeling, you, sir, have no idea what you're talking about. I have like pretty much 90% custom label and just a little bit of white labeling because I'm an advanced player in this game. When people use like these words, immediately 2 seconds into the sentence, I know if they know what they're talking about. And this is the most egregious one because the definition is right here. One more time. What did he say?
Labeling, where you create your own branded product, get it manufactured.
Create your own. Does that say create your own on the screen?
That's a very valid business model. And in fact, for the right person, it can be an amazing business.
Of course, it could be an amazing business. When you think about companies like Vevor, VEVOR, they white label everything. That's all they do. Okay. And they do it at mass scale and try a whole bunch of things. And they have their strategies in order to do that. You got to have money in order to play that kind of game. Does Vevor actually change anything? No, they just slap Vevor on everything. That's it. There's a non-Vevor version of everything that Vevor makes. Okay. That's something else. That's not exactly what I recommend for people. So
some people genuinely aspire to create their own products and build a brand and scale it big. There's nothing wrong with all of that. It takes vision, planning, and a different kind of risk tolerance.
I'll tell you what's wrong with this. I've never said this. I don't know where you get this like white labeling thing. It's like you've heard it somewhere and then you just like, fix it to my name and now it's stuck.
But most of us in this reselling community are not doing that. We're resellers. We find things locally at thrift stores.
See, here's the problem. This is the problem that I'm talking about, right? But we don't do that because we're resellers. And what? And that's all you'll ever be? Is that what you're trying to say? No, that's what he wants you to always be. Because that way you just always watch his channel. We are the resellers, reseller community, hug, kumbaya. Well, what the problem with that is that nobody gets to evolve here. If you disagree with them, then like, oh, you know, you're not one of us anymore. There's a whole strange, like, you know, loyalty, patriotism to just an activity that is just the beginning of what e-commerce is. Everybody needs to start somewhere. And when you don't know what sells, then you got to try a little bit of everything. You got to start up at your first eBay account, and then you got to learn the ropes. So that's fine. It's a learning phase. Everybody's inefficient in their learning phase. Everybody fails their way up. That's what sacrifice is all about. You want to learn how to do that cool skateboard trick? Well, you're going to fall and scrape on your knees many, many times. And that's the price of it. So that's all understandable. But once you get locked into this for years, now something's up here. There's no growth. This is stagnation now. And then constantly telling yourself, hey, I'm just doing what works for me. Only you know for yourself if this is a cop-out or not.
Yard sales, estate sales, and flip them online for a profit. That's what I love about this business. The freedom, the hunt, the hustle. Pegasus would...
This is what I love about the business, the freedom, the hunt, the hustle, right? See, these are all arguments from emotions, right? And this is business. The problem is that forget about what I think. Forget about what you think. What does the business demand? It's not emotions. It's not sunshine and rainbows. It doesn't care how anybody feels. That's when we're talking about business. And I run a business channel, a serious business channel. If you're doing a lifestyle channel, then we have no quarrels.
Say, I don't own a business, just a job. And honestly, I don't really care what label you put on it. I enjoy what I do, and it pays my bills.
Yeah, but I didn't say that directly to him, so I don't know. Okay, but listen to what follows right here. And I really love how, like, you know, he's consulting ChatGPT and stuff down here.
Not a millionaire, but I was able to walk away from my 9-to-5 job and build something that gives me the freedom. For me, this means hitting thrift stores at 9 a.m. and being able to go skiing or mountain biking in the afternoon.
Okay, see, here's the thing, right? Why do you have to hit the thrift stores at 9 a.m.? Because that's the time it opens for you. And if you're not there by 9 a.m., then most likely the stuff has already been picked through. So are you still operating on your own schedule? Or is this somebody else's schedule? Sounds like it's Goodwill's schedule. Is that about right? So this is what I mean, right? There's an illusion that's going on. And then the stuff that you just say are like very disingenuous because that's not what's really happening.
And here's the thing. Reselling is realistic for most people starting out.
Of course it's realistic for most people starting out because it's the low barrier entry. Everybody is supposed to be able to do it. Let me ask you something, okay? Who can sign up for eBay? Everybody. Who could sell some stuff on eBay? Everybody. That's the point. So what do you mean that it's realistic? what kind of sugar coat is that? It's the basic thing. Everybody's able to do it. So of course.
You don't need to take big financial risks or know how to source manufacturers overseas.
Right. And because it's easy, the road is hard. It's easy to get into, and then the road is hard. When you are in full product development, branding, like all that stuff, it's difficult, it's complex, there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to know. But once your listings are set up, once your merchandise goes straight from the factory over to the platform to be fulfilled so that you're not physically involved anymore, life is much easier. But that doesn't mean that it didn't require a lot of hustle, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of work, you know, in the initial setup. There's crunch time here. There's definitely still hard work involved. But what you're doing is that it's so low barrier entry, it never builds up an asset. You know what the asset in your company is? You, yourself, your knowledge of all the brands, your sweat, labor, like it's all you. You didn't build an engine that runs. You're the engine. That's the difference. So if that's what you want, that's what you prefer, so be it.
You just need curiosity and a willingness to learn. You can start with a few dollars, make some mistakes, figure it out.
You want to know what's a little bit insulting sometimes? When people come to my channel and explain reselling to me. It's like, why wouldn't I understand reselling? Like, you got into reselling, so did they. Everybody knows what reselling is. 100% of what YouTube channels are is just reselling. Like, why would other people not understand reselling? Why do people have to get into reselling to understand reselling? You go to thrift stores, you pick up some things, and then you sell it as if it was like a personal item. You make a listing good enough just to sell once, and then you rinse and repeat. And then hopefully everything that you pick up sells. What am I missing here? That, like, you know, I didn't do it 100 times a day. That's what I'm missing. So I need to repeat the process like thousands of times in order to understand. Like I can't just do it once and just be like, okay, got it. Or sell some stuff from home or sell some personal things. Just be like, okay, I see. That's not enough.
And grow at your own pace. I'm
I
comfortable
have to have a
with the
thermal
business I've
printer.
built.
Is that what you're saying?
I don't need to attack other businesses to make myself feel bigger
Nobody's
or more
attacking
successful.
anybody.
Just because someone does something differently doesn't mean that they're wrong. It just means that they found a path.
Okay, so he scrolls through my de novo one right here, right? You guys already know I gave de novo very high praise. At the end, I gave him an A minus grade, right? There are other people that I've highlighted before. Profit First Reseller Joe, Justin Resells, Big Yumbo. These are all people that I have highlighted before. When you're good, and I notice it. When you say, you know, questionable things, I highlight that. The Mogi Beth episode over here, she said that she got like, what was it, like 30 items? And then after 35 days later, and this was her favorite place to source, and then she showed like all the numbers, she was still in the red after 35 days. That becomes a very dangerous business. So that's what I showed. All these numbers on the screen, those are her numbers. I didn't write that.
That works for them. That's the beauty of reselling and entrepreneurship.
There's no entrepreneurship in reselling. What is an entrepreneur? An entrepreneur is somebody who is both a go-getter and a problem solver at the same time. Now, it might seem as if you're doing that from a certain perspective, but let's think about the mantra of what reselling is, or just selling, commerce in general. You want to what? Get what they call quality items, right? Items that is going to sell, items that people want. And you need to go ahead and do it consistently in order to have consistent sales. So wouldn't the ultimate solution be to have a banger item that people want and an endless supply of it, so we could go ahead and, you know what I mean? 20 sales a day, no problem. It just goes out 20 sales. Imagine waking up every single morning, you know what I mean, to a fresh cup of coffee and looking at 20 sales off of this one listing that you put together. And every now and then you revise the listing, you periodically check on it, you look at your inventory levels, and you're pretty much done for the day. When your inventory is low, you make a phone call, we replenish it, and then we just keep going. What do you do with your spare time? Go work on your second evergreen item and then your third evergreen item. What do you do with the rest of your time after that? Whatever you want. If you want to go back to thrifting, then just go back to thrifting and then do that too. But then also have this financial backbone of a business that you set up properly. It's about setting things up properly. It's not about putting your backs into it and then grinding harder every day. This is not my way versus your way. This is what Costco does. This is what every single legitimate business does, where they just have multiple copies of things and then they put it there and then they let people grab it and make offerings. They don't just go out and then just have, like, you know, one copy of things. So there are two criterias in basically getting the reseller items, right? Overlooked items and undervalued items. And they have to be both at the same time in order to really be a gem. So it is undervalued so that there's still definitely good margins for you to pick it up and then arbitrage it over to eBay. And then they're overlooked by other people because it's something that people actually want. Everything else that's there, there's a reason that it's there and it didn't sell the first time, because nobody wanted it the first time, and it's a high chance that nobody wants it the second time. So when we have like this whole speech about how we're helping people, you know, with like items out of the landfills and stuff like that, the most of the pile is going to end up at the landfill anyways. And all you did is, for the ones that people actually want, you beat them to the punch, and then you added a markup to it. So the virtue signaling and the self-righteousness
is no single
out of
right
control.
way to do it. And anyone that tells you that you must do it their way has other motives.
Anybody who tells you that they have to do it, anybody labels this as my way, is strange.
So why is Pegasus going after resellers in the first place? Well, it's actually pretty simple. The reselling community has a huge audience of people who are actively trying to start a business or side hustle. Most of us start with a dream of making a little extra money and maybe building it into something bigger.
No, it is because the current solution offered on YouTube right now is ineffective. Okay? Most people who say, yeah, but I make reselling work. How? By grinding hard at it. Correct. And that is the pain point that I want to help people solve. That there is a way to make a lucrative business without the grind.
Or maybe not. It's completely fine to just keep this as a
So the problem is that, like, I'm offering a better solution. So when you think about it, we're competitors, right? I'm the only one offering a more advanced solution, and people have to be ready to try it. People, if you're still green in reselling, or you haven't done anything yet, you should probably do a little bit of reselling first. If anything, you should follow Second Chance Picker. There you go. Okay, I'll just recommend. That's the nicest thing I can say about this guy. Just follow him for a little bit first. But after you got the hang of it, you learned the ropes. How much reselling do you really need to do before you're ready to understand more advanced business concepts? Because all it takes is for you to understand those things first. If you want change to occur in your life, it has to start with your mindset, because your mindset controls your identity. When your identity is so self-affirmed that, like, I'm a reseller for life, then that's all you'll ever be. Knowing very well that being a reseller, there's nowhere else to go but up. But you don't want to go up, and they tell you don't go up. Stay down here with us, crabs in a bucket.
Side hustle and never want to grow reselling into some multi-million-dollar business. But here's the truth.
It's not about growing it into a multi-million-dollar business. It's about giving yourself a chance. Because when you are doing one and done listings with one-off items, there's no chance. If your item sells, gotta go out and get it replaced. If your item doesn't sell, gotta go out and get it replaced and figure out how to exit the one that doesn't sell. Does that sound like a lot of fun? Does that sound about right? What's happening over and over again? Endless hauls, endless photos, endless listings. I have about like 20 established items. That's it. Set. If you have somewhere around like 4 to 5 evergreen items, you could be set. If you have properly built your item, okay, it could move about like 20 sales a day. So if you got like 5 items under your belt that are all moving like 20 units a day, that's 100 units out the door. I think all of you guys who are doing reselling, if you were able to do 100 sales every single day, pretty good. It's pretty good, right? And without chasing the sale, because it's already tweaked to be a product to market fit. It's an everyday item that people are looking for.
Reselling, just like all businesses, is not easy. There is a learning curve. It takes consistency. It can be frustrating when things don't sell or when you...
Not easy when you have no help whatsoever. Okay. My father was an importer and product developer, and he was super harsh about it. If at any moment, if I was like just a little bit whiny or I was a little uncertain, he would just tell me, don't do it, stay home. And then he would just get in his car and leave. So I would have to be like, no, wait. Okay. I'll try. You know, luckily I was like that. And I didn't say, okay, fine, forget him then. And then just, throw my life away. So the thing is that, like, this whole argument that he's putting out here, this is what I'm talking about. This is the indoctrination. There's no whips and chains or ropes or anything like that tying anybody down. It's all they have to do is just convince you. remain enthusiastic just about reselling, right? Look at like all of these brands, learn more brands. Hey, this is so much fun. I love this stuff. I get to go out, going out every day is like exercise of its own. Like all of these reasons to romanticize the activity when truthfully, all the business really wants from you is just what? Results. And the more results that you have, the more security you build. Don't fall into this nonsense of like money is the root of all evil kind of nonsense, okay? That's something that like John D. Rockefeller and them put out, Vanderbilt and them put out to keep people poor because it keeps you what? Don't talk about money. Don't think about money. You know what I mean? Don't try to earn money because that's for evil people. That's for bad people. I'm not a bad person. Yeah. You're going to be a poor person. That's what the problem is. This is the kind of indoctrination that keeps people down when they say like, I don't want, we're not trying to be millionaires. No, you're putting yourself in a setting, your setup. It's impossible to be a millionaire. That's what the problem is. There's no chance of it.
Make mistakes along the way. That frustration, it creates.
If the activity that you do every single day, right now as a reseller, okay, let's say you're reselling and then you could go ahead and secure like $80,000 a year net, right? Great. You're doing great. Let's say the same work that you do reselling right now, you go out, you drive home, all that stuff. But now, prices are better, economy is a little better, et cetera, so that like you make 120,000 instead of the 80,000. You're going to leave that extra 40,000 on the table? No, you're going to take it, right? Because it was off of your back. It was off of your hard work. You earned it. You still worked for it. So what I'm saying is that once you start learning the knowledge to do better strategies, once you start thinking to yourself, okay, it's not about the thrill of the hunt anymore, but rather the thrill of the project. My next project item is that I want to develop this item, get it on track, get it to moving 10 sales every single day before I move on to developing my next item. That now becomes the dopamine. You know what dopamine does? If dopamine didn't hit your brain every single time you eat, you wouldn't eat. You would just starve because you would feel no desire to do so, despite hunger, because it's just not triggering a reward response. But now, if your dopamine is way too high because of the thrill of the hunt, you'll never get out of this cycle and you'll always be doing single sales. Now, here's the thing. Single sales is only going to give you what? Single sale results. And because you're stuck in this situation, now you're developing like a type of Stockholm syndrome where you just tell yourself, yeah, this is where I want to be. I enjoy it.
Creates opportunities. When someone's tired, burned out, or second guessing themselves, they're more likely to look for an easier solution. And that's exactly when a guru steps in with a sales pitch that sounds like a shortcut to success. It's smart marketing, but it becomes a problem when
the bottleneck for most people, especially like him, is because of importing. That's the problem. The world that we live in today, there's no chance of getting low-priced everyday items without sourcing it from overseas. And that's where the difficulty is. Everybody knows I go out of my house and then I just go to a thrift store. Voila, it's right there. And now I have to look for undervalued items that are overlooked by other people when really all the money is in the mainstream. So when you are dealing with a factory that is charging you like, $2 a unit, $2.50, $3 a unit, that's the price that they want for the unit. It's not undervalued and nobody has overlooked it. So when you sell that item and you're able to adjust it and sell it successfully, you're going to have constant, predictable stream of revenue coming in. That's what we really want. We don't want to have to frantically be like, okay, I got to go out and source more. I got to keep my sales up, got to appease the eBay gods. It gets crazier and crazier because there's nobody here from upper levels of business strategies trying to explain how all of this actually works. One of my biggest criticisms is that in the reselling space, you guys talk a lot about the algorithm when truthfully, your activity has nothing to do with the algorithm. The algorithm favors number one thing: conversion rate, sales activity within the same listing, not your account. That's just all in your mind. Otherwise, how do you explain accounts that have steady listings, right? They only have replenishable, like let's say an account only has like 5 replenishable listings and they don't list anything else for the next 6 or 8 months. And then they're just consistently selling. How do you explain that? Shouldn't eBay have turned their sales off because of, there's no any activity other than like their typical sales? What about like people who leave 2 listings up? Right? They're not a professional seller. I just have a handbag and a pair of shoes. I just forgot about it. And then one day, bing, I got an email saying that like my item sold. And I'm like, oh yeah. I had this thing listed on eBay. Right. How do you explain that? You can't explain those things, right? All you can say is like, well, I don't know about all that. All I know is that when I do my sales, and this is what happens. And then ultimately, it's just anecdotal. At best, it's empirical. The problem with empirical data is that it doesn't account for any type of coincidence. If you keep repeating the same process of something over and over again, then you're bound to meet the same coincidence over and over again as well. But the problem with empirical data is that, like, if you can't explain the actual mechanics behind something, then you don't have any actual evidence.
It's built on tearing others down. Instead of helping people improve.
He said tearing others down. I want you to remember he said that, okay? Because tearing other people down has a personal connotation to it, right? It insinuates that it's inherently personal to tear someone down, okay? You could look that up.
Reselling, it shifts the focus to selling them something else.
Again, right? Okay, so he's got my war plan stuff pulled up. This war plan is strictly for product developers and creators, okay? So let me go ahead and show you guys something over here. So this is my website, and then when you click on services, it comes down over here, and then you see the war plan, right? So then when we click on the war plan, which is what you're looking at right now, let's double check right here, okay? So this is what he's looking at, right? The war plan, okay? This is my website. Now, guess what? When you scroll down just a little right here, this is how journalistically, bad this is, right? Okay. It says USP development, find the hook that makes your product the obvious choice. This is how we develop things, right? We challenge the idea of stuff. Full product manufacturing management from factory to your doorstep. Who does that? Who offers that? Okay, get your listings converted on eBay first, then scale to Amazon. You hire me to do this for you. Where's the course? Where's the mentorship? I don't know what you're talking about. You're intentionally being disingenuous and trying to frame this as something else.
Entirely.
You try to call it coaching.
Now,
there's no coaching here.
By even talking about him in this video, I'm probably giving him more views and attention. I get that. And honestly, it's one of the main reasons I hesitated to make this video.
Because you give me a reason to make a video.
I actually think this is all part of his strategy. He wants people to argue with him because it builds his following and creates loyalty from his audience. That's why I'm just not going to respond to his personal critiques or get into some kind of weird back and forth.
This whole, okay, here's the worst part about this thing, okay? This interaction is between me and Justin. Justin and I are working on a video. Like, I'm cool with Justin. Justin is like, one of my more favorite people. Like,
Situation.
Look, like he's scrolling this right now as if I got into it between me and him. This has nothing to do with him. Look. I paused it right here. Lucky me. Look, this is awesome. Justin Resells follows you. I just found your channel today, blah, 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 whatever, right? And then I let her know afterwards that I also follow Justin.
Focus on the bigger issue. Almost everything he says when he critiques resellers basically
look, he makes it look
down
like that was a critique. Right? Look, it says right here, it just faded. It says, I follow him too. I plan to tell him exactly why to his face soon. I hope he gets a kick out of it. Me and Justin are cool. Like, what are you talking about?
To this.
This has nothing to do with you.
This my way instead of the way they do it.
Why would you frame it? I prefer to do this my way. If I'm just saying for myself, I prefer to do this my way, that's a little bit different. But when I say, right, what this product development, you even found a definition of white labeling, and yet somehow like what? So I'm the founder of white labeling. That's what you're saying. So
That's
corny.
it. That's his whole sales pitch. He has a different way of doing something, and that's fine.
It's so sad. He has a different way of doing something. I don't label reselling as second chance pickers way. Reselling is what everybody currently on YouTube is doing right now, because nobody wants to share how to do the import product development stuff, because they don't know what they can share. If anything, being able to import stuff is an edge. See what I'm saying? The connections that you have with China. My biggest advantage is that I was just born Chinese and I was able to start this 20 years ago. So I have a huge head start in front of other people. That doesn't make me better than anyone. It just means that I started before other people did. And other people who are also Chinese also have this advantage, because this is back then when there was a language barrier issue. So I don't have communication issues with them. That's my edge. That's just the hand that I was dealt, and then that's how I played it. I could have chosen like a different line of work or something like that, but I saw that, like, you know, I have a competitive edge in doing this. So that's the difference. You don't know how to do what I do. Everybody knows how to do what you do.
Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but I still feel like this needs to be said, because I'd hate for someone to click on one of his videos.
I think that's so odd, right? Like, be wary of the guy, right? Even though like you're doing reselling where everybody knows how to just pick up a couple of items and then resell, but not everybody knows how to do what I do. So now you don't know how to combat that. You don't see here's the thing, right? You're putting out like, you know, your product X versus my product Y, right? And now you're scrambling because like you don't know how to compete against that. But in reality, anybody who wants to just remain a reseller, they'll go to you and then they'll stay with you. Anybody who's just starting into e-commerce, then they'll just watch your channel and then they'll learn from you. By the time they're ready to evolve, then maybe they come to me and maybe they won't. That's just life. Nobody is twisting anybody's arm to do anything.
Because my face is on the thumbnail and the video is about me, and then end up paying $2,000 for some mystery coaching program. If my name or image is being used to draw people into that kind of a sales pitch, then I feel the responsibility to step up and set the record straight. There is nothing wrong with having
this is your way of setting the record straight by telling lie after lie. You put up, you know, like all these evidence on screen and they don't even line up with what you're saying.
different opinions or different ways of running a business. That's what makes this community interesting. The problem isn't that Pegasus does things differently, it's how he's promoting it. When someone builds authority on shaky ground, then sells the dream for thousands of dollars, that's when I start to have an issue.
How do you know it's built on shaky ground? You just added that yourself, right? You just said that yourself. How do you know it's on shaky ground?
When I looked into his channel, I noticed something was off. As Pegasus would say, the math isn't mathing. Huge subscriber numbers, but really low views on the videos. A quick search showed that the channel used to be called Pegasus Vapor Academy.
This is Raymond with Vaping 360, hanging out with Pegasus from Pegasus Vapor Academy, who has a very cool and very unique approach to batteries. Let's hear it.
Reusing an old monetized channel isn't a crime. Actually, it's pretty smart. But it does mean that the following isn't organic to his current niche. It kind of creates this fake social proof that can make new viewers think, wow, this guy must really know what he's thinking about.
At the height of my career, I had close to about 27,000 subs. And then after I stopped making videos, and maybe about like 2017, the latest, I think, basically lost down to 21 and a half. And then when I started this channel, the first video that I put out was an explanation that like I came back and I'm pivoting the channel. And to anybody who used to subscribe to me for vaping, I'm pivoting the channel and I'm not going to be talking about that anymore. So therefore, if you stay, great. If not, I understand. And I lost another 1,000 subscribers from there. Today, we are at a little over 25. So I've gained maybe about 5,000 subs in the 1 year's time after turning the channel back on again. And you have to keep in mind, when you turn the channel back on, you have far less reach, no matter what kind of content you put out.
And when you're selling a $2,000 coaching program based on being the expert in the room, that matters. Think about the last time you were recommended.
Okay, so I could do what you do tomorrow. Can you do what I do tomorrow? So what is expertise? Expertise is simply just having profound knowledge over the average person. That's all it means. You don't need a PhD, okay? You don't have to be in the Royal College or whatever. Look up what the word expert means. You use the word expert. Expert means that you have profound knowledge amongst average people. That's all it really means. And I would say, yeah, that's about right. Like, can you develop products tomorrow?
A video on YouTube from a small creator. You are more hesitant to click on that video. You are more hesitant to actually listen to what that creator has to say. Any YouTuber will tell you that having a huge
Okay, so when I say, regardless the size of my channel, right, that I could teach people how to sell multiple quantities in the same listing as opposed to singles. And in order to do that, we have to get into replenishable models. We have to have repeatable sales. And in order to do that, we have to start getting into replenishable sourcing strategies. Now, one of the first things that you could do is change your back setting so that listings don't end just because they sold out. And then make sure the items that you can replenish, at least periodically, do your best to do that first so that they become semi-replenishable listings. Because this way, the listing doesn't just die off and reset every single time you have to make a new one. This way, you are collecting the sales history. And over time, the sales history of the conversion rates and the solds that you did, they start to snowball over time. And then you'll start to notice that the STR, which is not really the right term, but that's what you guys are used to hearing, starts to get better. So what you are used to being able to sell one of every a couple of days or something like that, you could sell like two in about a day because your listing is basically placed in a better spot in the catalog. This is called ranking your listing. And that just never happens in one-off sales. So all this talk about algorithms simply just doesn't exist. Now, what I just said right there, either you think that was a bunch of mumbo jumbo or that made perfect sense. So do I need a lot of subscribers in order to say something like that? Either you know it or you don't know it.
Subscriber base makes it a lot easier to push content out to people and have that social proof behind you. Now, it does seem as though all the information regarding Pegasus Vapor Academy has been removed from the internet, including all of his old YouTube videos. However, there is still some old information out there on the vapor business, an old interview and a few Reddit threads.
Okay, here's the part where we begin. I was waiting for this the whole time. So he came up with like a couple of Reddit threads over here. I think it's super disingenuous of all these, Reddit things or whatever. I have them as well, and we will get into them right now. Okay, so let's begin here. These are a couple of the Reddit threads on me, right? And then this was an Indiegogo campaign that I did a long time ago because there was a chip back then called the DNA 40. I didn't even know what it is. My own subscriber said, "Hey, Peg, talk about the DNA 40. I was like, what is that? And then I learned more about it. I was like, cool. And then I got it in my mind. I was like, hey, do you guys want to build a mod together? Because even though the channel was based on my hobby, I was always a product developer. I was always an importer and product developer at the same time. Okay. This was my hobby channel. I did an interview on Profit First Resellers podcast, and I specifically said, 5 years ago, you can't get me to talk about my business. And it's always been like that. So during this whole Pegasus Vapor Academy time, I would never talk about my actual business to people. Okay. But it's my knee-jerk reaction to want to create stuff. So when we did this, I was just like, hey, do you guys want to design a mod together? Because I have China factory ties. So I started to get more immersed in this stuff. And this is exactly how I teach people who want to get into branding and really into product developing, that you have to get immersed into what your hobby is. Because when you're in that field for long enough, a problem will arise. And when you stay with that problem for long enough, you will come up with a solution for it. So we did something really cool, and we crowdfunded, this item. And because it's called, it was a DNA 40 chip, and on Pegasus Vapor Academy, we call this the PVA 40 bot. Somebody put that in the chat. Okay, so a lot of this creation and design is literally for the people, by the people. When I did this, we raised about $71,000. So whatever rumors you heard or whatever, this is the actual correct number. Now, the thing is that we spent a lot of time like really working on this stuff, okay? So you think you found some dirt on me, right? But this is what is actually within all that dirt, okay? I don't talk about this stuff anymore because I'm not supposed to talk about this stuff anymore. Now, if you don't believe me, this is SolidWorks. SolidWorks, this was back then, SolidWorks, 3D Max. This is back then where, 3D printing like first came out, right? And this is the earliest computer-aided design. But what I'm doing here is really meant for aluminum, zinc, metal stuff, more than 3D printed stuff. But ultimately, this program, you can always do like all sorts of renderings to get your to convey like what you want to create across to different manufacturers and stuff. Okay, so what happened over here, okay, is that I want to scroll down, and then people were arguing about the price, as they do, because people chit chat, and it's Reddit. Reddit is where hate goes to flourish, right? So somebody was saying, oh, I'm not going to do this price. His price is pretty good, blah, 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 back and forth. And then finally over here, somebody goes, the Vapor Shark is $189 and it is a single battery mod. You could get this and batteries and 30 feet of nickel wire. Back then, in order to get temperature control, it had to be nickel wire. Nickel wire is not safe. We know that now. We didn't know that back then. For only $165. So, these are people just arguing back and forth of like, it was a good price, it's a bad price. Okay. Now, this one is the one by Vape Tech. Okay. PVA should have got the clap instead of whatever. This is a guy that I was arguing with on my channel. Okay. That's why it got so heated and everything over here. But what's disingenuous about this particular video, right here, the next link is this type A, like whatever 3,500 mile, whatever, that's by Battery Booch. And he doesn't want to show you that one, because that one, if you scroll down to the bottom over here, it says, right, as far as I have seen people ordered, right, were shipped out. There was some delay in the manufacturing process, but things came together at the end. So Justin and Joe, if you guys are watching, your boy didn't let you down. I'm a stand-up guy. Anyways, so let's come over here to this Imager stuff, right? What do I got? Oh, okay. So I got a guy who I had a falling out with as well, right? This is the guy who like helped me develop the battery line. And I'll tell you why we got into an argument in a second. But this is somebody who's not a fan of mine, right? And he says this, I tell you, I was affiliated with the guy for a few months. I could tell you, I believe everyone will get their mods. I don't think he's a scammer, but he's a total idiot. I don't say that as bitter or disgruntled. I have no pony in the race. My involvement with him and then the Ivoga management. So, I'll leave this up for a little bit. You can read it yourself if you want. But essentially, the argument between me and him was that I said, hey, look, the manufacturers that I'm talking about in order to get the batteries, et cetera, all that stuff. And then he's just like, they won't sell it to you. And I'm like, why? Why won't they sell it to me? And he's like, they just won't sell it to you. And I just thought that was like just super strange, right? And this was the pricing that I got at the time. I didn't even get a chance to show it to him yet. And then I said, yeah, but like, what, my money's not green or something? They're going to be able, I'll just talk to them. And then he goes, no. Like they just won't sell. So I'm just like, dude, what is your problem? And then we got into a heated argument like that, because for whatever reason, he just started instantly turning into a naysayer and just saying, I can't buy batteries. Long story short, a lot of people doubted if I was able to come through with the batteries for the mod or batteries for like other deals, et cetera, et cetera. I also did 2 more Indiegogo campaigns, another one for custom batteries and another one for atomizers and stuff. And I got to tell you guys, I came through on every single one of my Indiegogo campaigns. We had to go with Indiegogo because Kickstarter will not do anything vape related. Okay. So that's this guy. The next one is Eric Lenz. Okay. This guy is a little more down the middle. And he says, listen, everyone, he started shipping on the 26th. This is only the 8th business day, and there are hundreds of orders to process. You've waited 6 months, and so have I. Okay. So earlier in that Indiegogo thing, I didn't show you guys. I should have scrolled down a little bit. There was something like 770 backers or something for that particular campaign. Okay. So what I did, where I kind of messed up on, is that, look, the idea is always to what? Like under promise and over deliver, right? So I kind of did a little bit of both. I kind of over promised and over delivered, like all at the same time, right? So let me show you what happened with the PVA thing over here. Okay, so this is a subscriber who ended up uploading a video.
Just ran back to the house to pick up some priority vape mail. Be doing a proper unboxing of this tonight. Hey man, we're back home from work now. Let's go check this bad boy out.
Right. Okay. So you see how he has with atomizers and stuff? I did a bundle, right? Where, you know, if you paid like $185 or something like that, like you get an Ivogo atomizer of your choice, and Pegasus will build it for you with like some kind of an art coil, and I'll sign the back of your battery mod door. I didn't know that like it was going to be, you know, 300 people out of the 700 people who backed it that signed up for that. So I got swapped. I was like, oh, like I didn't know it was going to be that many. So at the time, the delivery of this thing was already late and people were already waiting and getting impatient, and I needed to ship stuff out. So I did my best to ship stuff out. But if I'm shipping stuff out, I'm not building the coils either. And you got to know that like when you get a brand new atomizer, it's actually covered in machine oil. So now I'm cleaning all of them and then building all of them and then signing battery doors. Yo, I worked for like, I don't know, like something like 2 weeks straight, like nonstop, as many hours as I could. I slept in my office. That's how bad it got. When it's crunch time, it's crunch time. So, you know, as far as hard work is concerned, I'm running 2 businesses and my YouTube channel, like all at the same time, trying to make all this work. And ultimately, that's what everybody said. They ended up getting their stuff. As far as the guy who called me an idiot, okay, that was Matt Marana. That was this guy, okay? So this guy, it was a 19-year-old college student from New Jersey. And I was very open-minded to listen to what he had to say about batteries because I wanted to consume everything about batteries, vaping, and all that other stuff. So I'm going to show you what he had to say here. This is back then where we were getting along, and he wanted to do, you know, the battery classification that we came up with together. He kind of like, you know, pitched me the idea, and then we worked on it, and then we tweaked it together, and then we came up with this particular graphic. And just listen to what he has to say. It's kind of cool.
But fortunately, this is probably going to be one of the most exciting videos that I've put out thus far. This video is a culmination of a long couple months of me and Pegasus working this out. And what this video is about is our battery classification system, otherwise known as the ABCD system.
Later on, we evolved this into the ABCDE system. I think there's a running joke about my batteries, right? That was like, you know, Pegasus batteries now available in more types than diabetes. Or no, more types than hepatitis. There you go. Anyways, it's a silly joke, but the point is that at the time, a lot of people, you know, were getting bamboozled with like the different kind of wraps, right? Like saying like 60 amp batteries, 100 amp batteries, and they just simply didn't exist. So we wanted to do something that was honest for the community. So the thing is that like I deeply care about any new community that I get into. So what you think you're digging up dirt on me, look, here's the reason why everything got removed, okay? This is Grim Green, okay? And Grim Green is one of the OGs, the original OG, like vaping, right? Channels and stuff. He's part of first generation. Grim Green, Pete Basardo, Rip Trippers. These three are the original guys, right? And then wave 1.5, like right in the middle, was like myself, Vaping Twisted 420, Suck My Mod, stuff like that. Those are the 1.5 waves. And then the generation 2s was like the DJ LSB and the Mike Vapes and whatever. If you're into these channels, they're all huge now. I got out of this thing because I went into more of the business side. But you can see him here on the news.
Around 2009, I found a root beer flavor, and
he is, you know,
now in light of
arguing and advocating for e-cigs.
How do you continue to advocate for vaping?
Well, I mean, the issue with people dying isn't a nicotine liquid vapor issue.
So they're very passionate about the advocacy stuff. Now, here I want to show you what happened to the whole industry. Okay.
It used to be YouTube. It used to be YouTube. Believe it or not, there was a time throughout a lot of 2015 and a lot of 2016 where the ad revenue from your video. So like when you go to watch a YouTube video and there's that little ad and you can't wait for the countdown and then you skip it.
Yes.
The content creator will make money if you click on that ad. And I used to make enough money to pay my bills, to pay my rent. I was living almost exclusively off of YouTube revenue.
Wow.
And that I know. Once upon a time it was possible. And now vape channels have.
I showed you guys a video that I only make about $200 off of my YouTube. Back then I used to make about like $800 before, and I was just about to start rolling, and then I got demonetized, and so did everybody else.
Been so thoroughly demonetized and completely blacklisted. They don't promote us. They don't put us in trending. Even if we have, you know, Rip Trippers could release a video that gets a million views in the first hour and it wouldn't end up on trending simply because he's a vape channel. And it wouldn't be monetized either because it goes against their terms, or they're not their terms of service, their community guidelines. We've been getting community guideline strikes.
Right. So what happens when you get 3 strikes? Your channel is done. So we all panicked. Okay. And then we had to start taking a bunch of videos down because they started judging us by today's standards for our work that was done in the past. That's why there's so much stuff that you can't find on me. It's not just me. It's all of my friends as well. All of our stuff had to be taken down or we're just going to lose our channels forever. At that time, I didn't even know how to pivot away from vaping because my whole, you know, fan base, they're all vapors. So I don't really want to do that to them. And then what, just start like, you know, doing my other hobbies and like playing video games or something like that. That's what it was. So that explains like what the hiatus is. So I don't talk about vaping anymore because I'm not supposed to. Okay. Now, as far as regulations is concerned, right? And I apologize, I can't just share my email with you guys, but okay, we got something from the compliance, an audit investigator of Alcohol and Tobacco Compliance Division saying that, like, you know, you need a tobacco license or tobacco retail license in order to sell, blah, blah, whatever. And I had to go through like, you know, so many hoops with them in order to explain to them that like I sell 18650 batteries for the vaping community. My item is technically not a tobacco item. And then after a lot of correspondence, I was let off the hook. Okay. So what happened is that, like, you know, I don't trust bureaucracy. This is just too much red tape. It's not worth it. So we shut down the business as well. So basically, you know, you're trying to pull up my past, right? And try to, you know, frame it as like shady business practices. You know, imagine all the people who got furloughed or people who lost their jobs or lost their businesses because of COVID, right? And then try to rub it in their faces later and say, oh, it's because you failed. Oh, it's because it's on shaky ground. Oh, it's because of shady business practices, and just spread rumors about that. It's because the government cracked down on it. Trump signed a bill in 2020, right, that prohibited basically all vape mail. Basically, as long as any kind of tobacco or tobacco-related items, you couldn't ship it through USPS, FedEx, UPS, and DHL. I'm sure there's still people who do it anyways, but for most people who are, compliant, right, you just regular people, they're not going to do it anymore. So for me, it was just like, you know what, forget it. Just forget about it, right? And that's why we deaded the whole thing. And in order to preserve the channel, I did my best to just, prune as much as I could. Okay, so we delisted a whole bunch of things, and it is what it is. All right. I don't know if you know what it looks like on your back end to go from monetized to limited, and then have the little warning that says this video is either very limited or it makes no revenue at all, and you just shrug your shoulders and then that's it. So this was the item that I put together. So we went from CAD drawings to realization. I am who I say I am. I am an importer and product developer. This was my hobby. This is what I can do when it's just my hobby. Imagine what I could do for everybody. Okay. This was the final item at the end. There's so many aspects of like this stuff that, like, you know what? We might as well just get more and more into it. Okay. So I also had a battery line. Okay. This is Brian from TVC talking about like my battery line and stuff. And what was really cool about this was that I was watching an episode of the Vape Team, and they were the ones who mentioned something, and I took that idea and I ran with it. Let me see if I could get the good timestamp of it.
Ago on the Vape Team, with my weekly live show on Thursday nights, I made a comment, and Peg was watching, about how batteries should be classified. They should be categorized according to need, according to what the application is.
I want to point something out, okay? Right, so I listened to him about the need, about the application, and I developed this whole system, and me and Matt Marana worked on it, and it took months in order to do this. Afterwards, when we sold a lot of batteries, I tried to contact Matt Marana, and I wanted to cut him a $2,000 check because I think that he deserved it. But, he didn't want to have anything to do with me. He just didn't want to talk to me. He was just too angry. I don't know why he wanted to suddenly say that there's no way I could buy. You know what? When we worked on the batteries and all this classification stuff in order to end up with the wrappers or whatever, why would you say I wouldn't be able to get the batteries? What was the whole purpose of the whole project if we were just never going to actually have any product on hand, right? And I also want to point out, right, that when you look at the logo right here at the bottom right, if I was trying to hide this from my past, okay, why would I still use the same logo today? When you see my logo on every single video that it runs and it just goes boom, Pegasus like that, it's the same logo. Who does that? It's just like when you try to frame it as like, I'm being a hypocrite and saying, oh, okay, people think I sell courses, and then point to my website and say, oh, that's a course right there. Why would I do something like that? Only you would do something like that because you're intellectually dishonest. So, if we're going to really get into this stuff, right, I want to show you a lot of my work. So I also developed atomizers. So when you look at this over here, if you look closely, right, this was a company called Steamcrave. So Steamcrave was a company that I helped put on the map. Before this, they were called like Shenzhen Beauty E-Sig, LLC, like some nonsense like that. It was terrible. It was just absolutely terrible, right? And it's because that's what it meant in Chinese, that they were called 美丽公司, which basically mean beauty company. But it's a vape company. They meant beautiful company, whatever. So I came up with their whole, campaign, right? And helped them sell their atomizers and stuff. So I came up with the name Aromamizer. So if there's any vapors out there, whether you're on the Aromamizer, version 1, version 2, blah, blah, whatever, I worked on the Aromamizer drippers as well as the RDTAs. Those are all my help, okay? As well as this one. This one's called the Aromamizer P version, P for Pegasus, okay? So they developed one for me with the, my PVA logo on the drip tip. So what happens is that you can see that there's kind of like the swirl over here, right? And the swirl basically creates like this Venturi effect, and that would cause like a little tornado in there, okay? And the thing is that I developed this huge campaign for them, and it was called Aromamizer Taste the Tornado. And that created a lot of curiosity because people were just like, taste the tornado? I want to know what a tornado tastes like. And we drew so many people to the booth. We sold something like 400 atomizers with every single vape booth that we set up, because they signed me up for exhibition after exhibition, right? From like Raleigh, North Carolina, and New Jersey. Like I went to like all these tiny exhibitions and stuff. They paid for all my flights. So I flew a lot of Spirit Airlines. Okay, I flew a lot of Spirit Airlines. So basically, I'm juggling two businesses, right? My own vape stuff with some vape gear, as well as my own automotive stuff. And then on the weekends, I would fly out to different places just for the weekend and then fly back, right? Because I would be also the face and spokesperson for Steam Crave. So people have probably seen me in Vape Summit in Texas, in ECC in Ontario, like all sorts of there was like VPX Niagara, something like that. I did a whole bunch of exhibitions for them, right? And it was fun because they hired me as their consultant. So if I can do consulting for a company, I could certainly do consulting for a single person who wants to develop just a single item. So now you want to dig up this dirt, you're going to find out that my expertise is much deeper than you think. Here's another item that I developed. This was called the Fogworks slider, okay? And I want you to see what I did here.
Nice packaging, very nice box. The box this comes in, you could almost make a mod out of the box. Anyway,
He said the box that this comes in, you could almost make a mod out of this box, okay? So that was the trick. That was the marketing thing. So I not only know how to develop products, I'm exceptionally good at marketing as well. This is my special ability. This is my talent, okay? Why did I do this? There was another atomizer called the Moonshot. You guys can look that up. And it was just, didn't do that well, right? And the problem is that like everybody thought you could turn that into a little box mod because it was much shorter. But if you turn it into a box mod, it had to use like a 13650. It was much shorter, So I figured, hey, why don't we just have a little bit more room over here so that this can definitely fit an 18650 battery sled perfectly without interference of the 510 connection. And that's exactly what all the creators ran with, right? That, wait, I could totally see somebody, and then everybody started saying this stuff. So if I was to show you over here, okay, with my atomizer project, and then with Fogworks like this, right? Oh, let me show you guys some drawings and stuff like that. These are my final 3D renderings of my Fogworks atomizer. So you can see Fogworks, and then you see my logo clearly over here, right? Still running the Pegasus logo, like no matter what, all right? This is what the box actually looked like, right? No. These were just the mock samples, like in the beginning of like 3D renderings. Like we didn't necessarily are going to go with this. This was the actual vape deck, and it was set up for a single coil because I just found that single coil is more efficient, and nobody is gearing up for single coil. See, the thing about the coils is that if you're running dual coil, you always have to make sure that they're very balanced. But when you're doing stuff like this, you don't have to make sure that they're balanced if it's just running on single coil. And it was a single one-piece design, so it was simplistic as well. I put a lot of thought into this, and we had like all sorts of drawings like this to show people like, the inner workings and things like that. The logo that I put together, right? As I explained before, right? I'm also very, very good at campaigning and coming up with, logos and other things for people. So the idea of Fogworks was that like it's like a train, right? But the train makes it a tube mod, and then this is a 510 connection over here with like the steam on top. So Fogworks, get it? The Fogworks thing was kind of like a steampunk genre. Sorry guys, I already know this video is super long, but I just so wanted to share like these things with you guys. This is a creation that I ended up turning into like desk mats, and this is the desk mat that I still use today, right? Which is my Fogwork desk mat. And I made like all these wallpapers into desk mats and stuff, and they all have like sayings that I believe in, and I just want to share these sayings with you guys so that you guys know more of what my values are about, right? So this one is by Eleanor Roosevelt. I love Eleanor Roosevelt quotes, you know, about like small minds, medium minds, like big minds and stuff. And then the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams, right? And then the next is by Alan Kay. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. And of course, a product developer like myself would believe in this stuff, right? This is exactly how I would think. Perfection is achieved, not when there is nothing to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. That is so beautiful, right? And then Albert Einstein, of course, right? The important thing is not to stop questioning. My finishing quote on all of my videos, right, was I remember, folks, like question everything, do your homework, and vape clever, right? This one is you know, Fogworks quality vape gear. That's how I set up everything. The reasonable man, I love this one so much, right? George Bernard Shaw. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world, but the unreasonable man is the one that persists in trying to adapt the world to himself, and therefore, right, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. You know what I mean? In a way, like I think it's funny because I'm not too sure if it exactly describes myself, but it really is eye-opening that, you know, therefore, like all of the progress in the world depends on, you know, the delusional person, right? The grandiose kind of thinking type of person, you know? So it kind of puts you in a new perspective where these kind of sayings really allows a person to step out of their comfort zone. So perfection is not attainable, but if we chase perfection, we can achieve excellence. Vince Lombardi, love this quote so much. So I had all these really cute, you know, like wallpapers and stuff like that. I also wanted to show you guys this Word document that I put together for Fogworks, right? And it said, "Dear reviewer." So basically, I'm very good at all sorts of marketing stuff, right? Including to guide my product reviewers in a certain direction. So it said, you know, thank you for taking the time to review our debut item, the slider RTTA, blah, 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 whatever. And then I tell what the key features are and why we went with single coil, because that way, when they go ahead and make the videos and stuff about me, about my product, right? They don't just go ahead and say like, oh, it's single coil, I wish it was dual coil. When they read that letter, it already preps them for why this thing is different, and it is always been set up and geared towards single coil. And then when they hit it and it performs well, that's how you, like, you know, get all your ducks in a row. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, basically I know how to develop products. I know how to write, you know, different kinds of strategies. I could do the campaigning for people, as well as like send out products and, you know, groom the reviewer at the same time for the products. So yeah, your boy can develop war plans at the end of the day. You know what I mean? I've been doing stuff like this. So I think it's very disingenuous to try to suggest that I failed when really, you know, I was thriving in this area, and the government stepped in and they took it away. That's what actually happened. So I don't talk about this because I don't want anybody's pity. Truthfully, when I think about this whole story, it's more heartbreaking than anything else. There's actually quite some footage that I don't even have anymore, and I really wish I wasn't so hasty to get rid of it. Okay, it was actually some footage of me driving around California and hand delivering to, like, I think it was like 6 or 7 different subscribers where they ordered, you know, the mod from me from the Indiegogo campaign, and I knocked on their door, and you know, I wanted to surprise them like Ed McMahon with a check or something like that, you know. And there was footage of me doing that. I uploaded that, and people really enjoyed that. I you know, really genuinely care about every single community that I get into. So, oh, I want to show you guys something else. So I did the manual as well. Okay, we worked on this together, and with some other designers and stuff like that. So it says the Fogworks slider design is designed by Pegasus of Pegasus Vapor Academy, et cetera over here. And then it says his other Ds includes the branding, packaging, and computer aided design work of all the products of under the Fogworks label. And then this was, you know, my instruction manual inside that came with the deck. So this is, you know, the build with, like, you know, the wick inside. And then this is the function. So this is why it's called a slider, right? It was the first of one of the first of its kind that you lift it up and then you slide it to the side, and then you could fill the juice this way. See, basically what happens is that most tanks, when you recap it, you cap it from the top, and then it causes a pressure, a positive pressure inside that usually causes a little bit of leakage. But if we seal it just by sliding it and then capping it down, then it doesn't add any positive or negative pressure to the chamber inside. So you could just, you know, wick up your wicks, and then you know, just go ahead and start vaping, and wouldn't be any problems. I have like a thanks and shout outs. You know, long story short, we strive very hard to produce a quality, no nonsense product, yada yada yada. And then I put special deep thank you to Chia, Michael, and Emily. They were the team in China to help me put this together. Shout outs to Richard West for coming up with the name slider, and then to all my reviewer buddies, Big Lou, Todd, Kent Hill, Richard Ng, Tony Britton, Fred Hart, Dustin Freshly, Daryl Sugar. So I was buddy with a lot of YouTubers, okay? And to my best friend EB, like I dedicated this all. Love you all, Peg, right? Okay, so let me see, what else do I have to share with you guys over here, right? I also had a whole bunch of I had other creations as well, right? Like the slider RDTA, and then the next thing was called like the timeless mod, and all sorts of other stuff. I can't even remember anymore, but I had all sorts of, you know, computer aided like drawings and things like that. A lot of people don't know that I was actually even a ghost designer for a couple of vape companies, right? Some stuff got released, some stuff got tossed, but hey, you know, they paid me for a lot of this other things. Like, for example, this one is by Focus Vape, right? And Focus Vape, you know, we did this one together because they said that they really wanted a sub-ohm tank, right? So I helped them design this particular sub-ohm tank. And what was cool about this, this is what the design is, right? And of the juice and the airflow. And we put the logo as the juice channel in order to build a tank. And then I had this other, it was a rebuildable sub-ohm tank, right? Where you put the wire in here, and then this was like, you know, a threaded screw. So then you would go ahead and then wrap your wire around the threaded screw, so it's always guided. Then you would heat this up so that you anneal the wire. That way, afterwards, you just twist it off. And not only did you have a perfect coil, the coil was always evenly spaced the same way every single time. That way, if you're using the exact same gauge wire, you will always get consistent ohms every time you did this. So yeah, you know, a lot of thought, a lot of designs. Again, right, in order to get into this stuff, I would always recommend for somebody that you have to really get immersed into this field. Honestly, most of the stuff that I did, I really didn't like reviewing stuff as much. I really liked creating my own things. So I'm one of the few YouTubers that has way more classes than I have reviews and stuff. So this is me, you know, doing like a little class here. The audio is terrible, okay? So just bear in mind.
To our heating element. In an unregulated box mod, a set of internal wires are present.
You can tell it's me.
The batteries to the 510 connection.
anyways, the point is that when you look at the classes that I do, like a class 103, 102, whatever. So I did 101. Most people love to do eBay 101, sign up for like whatever, right? Where's the 102 class, 103? I did stuff from 101, 102, 103, 104 to 202, 203 into 404. That's how advanced it ended up getting. But then we had to end up taking all that down. That's why you can't find it anymore. And we had to delete that like nearly like 10 years ago. So yeah, I have so much other stuff to show you guys. Give me 1 second. Oh, this one's funny. This one's super funny, right? So this is a model that I don't know if you guys have seen before, but originally I was going to call this thing the Longhorn, right? And what it is that it is a gravity fed tank dripper, right? So it's super like combination. So basically the deck inside, you would feed the wicks upside down, okay? And then what happens is that the wicks would feed upwards. That way, when the juice is sitting on it, it's always auto wicking. That way you can hit it as hard as you want and it would just never ever be dry, right? So there was this guy that didn't get along with my friend, initials EB at the time, right? So he, messed up his day and he offended him or whatever. So they're not friends anymore. But because I'm best friends with him, so I'm guilty by association. So he said, like F him and then F me too, right? And as a joke, when we developed this item, his nickname is Phenom. So we decided to call this the Phenom, just in case, ever goes viral and it ever does well. It's kind of like, we're making money off of his name or something like that. I did funny stuff like that all the time. For example, other channels that I didn't really get along with, I would go ahead and advertise other channels because you could go ahead and do like commercials and stuff like that, right? So this is my commercial, guys.
Hi,
I'm going to show you this.
Are you new to vaping and overwhelmed by the amount of knowledge that comes with it? Like all equipment, safety comes first. And in regards to vaping, battery safety is first. Learning can be tedious, and you just want to start vaping. However, doing a quick search, suddenly you are bombarded by words like voltage, wattage, resistance, and Ohm's law. You've even seen a few stories of battery accidents in the news. Shopping for vaping batteries has never been easier thanks to Pegasus Vapor Academy. Their site will help you select the right battery for the way that you vape. All of our premium batteries have the recommended usage printed right on the label. We even have an interactive online calculator to help you determine the optimal cell. Using the right batteries will keep you safe and grant you the best vaping experience. Finally, all the guesswork has been done for you, so skip the math and come visit us at PegasusVaporAcademy.com.
Okay. So I always thought it was super funny to have some of my subscribers come back to me and say, hey, I just watched like such and such's video and your commercial popped up. That was always hysterical to me. But anyways, yeah, this was my Fogworks slider in drawing format, right? It was just like straight drawing before we ended up bringing it to life. So let me see what else I could show you guys. Yeah, so I was always like, super ambitious, right? I believe in shooting for the moon because the thing is that like when you have these, outrageous, grandiose ideas and stuff, right? When you are delusional enough to like just, go very far with it, even if you get halfway there, even if you get like the third of the way there, it's still much further, than wherever you started from. But if you do the low barrier entry stuff, right, and then you aim for low, then you're guaranteed to get it, but that's where you stay. You see what I'm saying? So you get it, Fogworks, right? Something is in the works. This was my teaser graphic when I put this together. And, I had this train and this whole thing was supposed to be like a kind of steampunk thing. And I'm originally from New York. So this one says New York Central on the side. And then it turned into this logo. So what I want to show you guys is I also wanted to develop, another battery mod afterwards, and it was going to be called a PVA SI. SI stands for standard issue, right? And this was going to be a mechanical mod. There's no more, adjustments up and down, and the window screen over here was just meant for a voltage reading on the batteries, right? and it was supposed to be like, you know, a very timeless mod. I definitely wanted to make this thing just like the PS3 original, the piano black finish on this. So this was a rendering that I put together for that. And then, yeah, the batteries, right? So we did honest A-grade batteries where we took the best batteries that were tested, right? And then we did a category system to, you know, break them up. This is hysterical, right? So this is what I mean, like think big, dream big. You might not do every single idea, but you're always sketching, you're always like playing with stuff. So I thought to myself, a lot of people were coming out with caps and t-shirts and stuff. Why don't I come out with a shoe, right? Will people buy my shoe? I just wanted to see if that would ever happen. Eventually, of course, I could have gotten in contact with the Chinese factory that does sneakers and stuff like that, send them my logo, and then just go ahead and do that. But again, you know, why would I keep running my logo even today if I was ashamed of this? It's because I'm not allowed to talk about this. And even if I did, I can't get very far with it. And that's why I don't actually bring it up. So if we're going to do this, you know, I'll just do this for like this one episode. Okay. So back then, I also had a weekly show. It was called The Straight Volt, right? The Straight Volt was a show where every single big name reviewer pretty much tuned in every single week. Mike Vapes, DJ, like all of them tuned in to see what I had to say about stuff, because I was one of the few people who were like doing battery testing at the time. Mooch was still on ECF forums, and then he didn't get into YouTube by then. So I was the bigger name in batteries and vaping at first, and then I stepped away from it, and then Mooch's channel blew up because, you know, he was basically the only go-to afterwards. But Mooch knows stuff very, very well. I definitely trust Mooch, you know, with information as well. So this is my old channel trailer. Okay, so that was season 2, and then we went on to season 3. Look how much stuff I had. Dude, I was so sponsored, like, you guys don't even know. Okay, so let me see what else I could share with you guys. Oh, this was my old, I'm gonna do a quick little slideshow, right? So this was, you know, you saw me earlier, like in my office and stuff. So this was my office. I had a little reception. This is my small operation when I first moved everything over to California. And you can see that, like, you know, everything's nice and neat. I don't have many product you know, I have product variations, but I don't have like a lot of SKUs, you know, like everything is very manageable. And then we just use the exact same USPS boxes. This is back then before Ground Advantage, right? So that, like, you know, priority mail was the better way to go, because sometimes with parcel post, like, you know, might get strange delays. I had 2 floors, so there was a mezzanine on top of this as well. And yeah, just pack right here. It was a nice and quiet. I had, like, you know, empty box after empty box. These are all, like, you know, imported goods and stuff. This is my seat covers, actually. So, you know, I park here every morning, and then this is, like, you know, some of all the extra stuff so basically, you know, everything downstairs with the racks and whatever are all the grab boxes, and then everything up here is, you know, like more inventory. Now you can see some of the boxes or whatever get busted because, you know, stuff happens in transit at that time. So that was always, you know, kind of annoying to deal with. Yeah, so this is pretty much what the warehouse kind of looks like from outside. Let me see, what else do I got? Let's stop looking at Brian for a second. Okay. I also wanted to show you guys, right, that I got up to the point in this, if you ask any prominent member in the vape community, okay? This was my atomizer.
I gotta tell you, this Fogworks tank, this RDTA by Fogworks, I'm gonna tell you what, it's impressive. When I showed you it, when I showed you the deck, it's like any product that I've seen from Pegasus or including this tank,
Okay, so I got up to the point where basically anything synonymous with the Pegasus name was good stuff. Okay, they reviewed the batteries. You know, I intentionally, no matter what brand that I did, right, it always had my little Pegasus little horse logo. I always shoved that in as a silent nod so that people would know. I never got into making juice because I always knew that that was like the easiest thing, right? So I always wanted to save that for last. But I was considering doing a juice, and then this was going to be my juice, right? So back then, you know, you just needed like a cool name and branding and stuff like that. So I can't find the Vitality one. I was going to do 2 juices, right? And really launch them as 2 juices. It was going to be Clarity and Vitality, basically a mana potion and a health potion, right? And I'll tell you the flavor right now. Vitality was going to be what was it? Passion fruit jasmine green tea was the Vitality one. And then the Clarity one was going to be like lime cucumber and cactus or something like that. Just something like very smooth and mild, right? And yeah, this was going to be like my thumbnail in order to sell that. Let me see, what else do I have to share with you guys? Oh, I did coils too, you know. These coils, right? They were Clapton coils at the time, and Clapton coils was all the craze because it had stage heating and it had juice pockets. So the juice would be in the coil and the cotton at the same time. So you would hold a ton more juice so that when you hit it, it was a lot more flavorful, right? So a lot of people were twisting up their own wire at home, and not everybody was able to do it because it required some skill in order to do it well. So you would put it in the chuck of your drill, and then you would like feed the wires and stuff like that. So people were doing it for friends, people were charging people stuff for it, and this went for very expensive. But because again, I'm an importer and product developer, I had a factory do this, and then we went back and forth to make sure it was clean. And they understood how to do this stuff, and it was the proper wire gauges, like all that stuff like worked out, right? So then I had my own label over here. Okay, so this is my design of the label, and then later on we were able to bring it to life, right? And then bring it to life. This is the actual product over here. Okay, so what we have is that do I have like a little jar of it or something like that? Yeah. I think that this is all that it is. Okay, so this little jar down here is 10 pieces inside, right, of these coils. And I got it down to 25 cents a coil, okay? And so basically, this jar of 10 coils in there, the jar is free, the label's free, like everything's with it. So it was $2.50. We sold this for $30, okay? So you just go ahead and imagine the margins on that one, okay? It's like, 12x margins. And that was market price. That was not price gouging or whatever, because that's how much it cost most people, because they were just making it hand here in the US and people didn't have factory support. I always had factory support. So again, I'm able to do this stuff because I am exactly who I say I am, even back then. And now you're finding out that Pegasus 10 years ago was already this advanced. Okay, so let me see what else I could share with you guys. This is kind of a lot of fun. Oh, check out my pricing for like coils, like the spools and stuff like that. Like I'll show you all this now because I don't do this anymore. So now like it's all out in the woodworks, right? But I was never gonna bring this up until you try to, do this in a derogatory way, as if like you're pulling up like some kind of dirt on me or whatever. But now you're just going to find out that like, I'm better than you guys thought I was. So here's another one, right? Okay, Pegasus Vapor Academy batteries, right?
All different kinds of vapors.
Of your competitors out there,
360 is for like most of the vapors out.
Right? This is the one by Victor Vapes
eventually
talking about
released. It really is truly a great idea. Appreciate that as much as I do. I think it's about time that somebody did something like this. I appreciate it, and I think it is to the benefit of vapors on the vape
Okay. And
Fred here, welcome back to the Gear Obsession channel. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at these Pegasus Vapor Academy batteries.
Okay.
Responsibly, vape safely. I gotta say, this is brilliant. This is absolutely genius. It's brilliant because I could spend less time doing math and more time doing just what I wanted to do, and that's vape.
Okay, this is Mike Vapes talking about my batteries.
Power, it's gonna last you for days, that battery. Just using the Nautilus.
Get his final thoughts.
Using a mech mod.
Does he have any final
35
thoughts?
or 40 amps. There's no such thing. There
Right.
just is no such thing.
There
as
was
that.
no such thing as a 40 amp
He's
battery.
using batteries that are not rewraps, but authentics, and he's giving you the stats, the ampage of what they are. The true ampage. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to have questions.
Okay.
Hey guys, Daryl Shergan, Quest for Vape. Let's talk about batteries for a second. We never really know.
I miss Daryl so much. Daryl was such a good
what
guy.
they say on the wrapper, we really never know what we're getting, what they're capable of. I'm not the kind of guy that's got equipment that can test batteries. Do you know how to test batteries? Well, there's a gentleman. If you haven't seen him yet, he's on YouTube, and his channel is called Pegasus Vapor Academy. His own testing equipment. He's got software. He graphs them, and he sees what these batteries are capable of. It use these batteries because they're super high, ultra high discharge. And let me show you what one of those batteries looks like. On the battery wrap, it tells you the series or triple series. I guess he's saying we have a battery that's honest. We finally have ratings on the batteries, and we finally have the ability for the average vapor to look at a battery and know, okay, this is the type of vaping that I can use this battery for. How cool is that?
Okay. Here's another vaping heathen.
So they put those in the B bin, right? So now, when you hear about all these other companies like MXJO, Sub-Ohm Cell, Segelis,
Those were terrible.
Whatever company you hear that are releasing these batteries, they go to these major battery manufacturers and they pick from the A bin or the B bin or whatever, and they put their own wrapper on it. And a lot of the times, a lot of these companies will wrap the battery in their own wrapper, and then they just put on there. It'll say 60 amp discharge or 3,500 mAh when it's actually a 2,500 mAh or something like that. It happens a lot in this industry. It happens a lot in the battery industry overall for flashlights and like that. So, and Peg, what a lot of times is, he'll graph a battery that's rewrapped and he'll actually know exactly what battery it is, like say he got a sub-ohm cell and he'll graph it and match it to the actual battery and what it actually.
This is what I mean. Every single big name reviewer watches the Straight Volt to learn more about batteries because battery safety was such a big deal. You know how weapons safety is a huge deal in the pew-pew community? Battery safety is a huge deal in the vaping community. If people see you mishandling batteries, it just sets a bad name for the whole community. Everybody chews you out for it. So this was a very dangerous thing to get into, right? So when I get into this and become a battery expert, you better know what you're talking about. So I've always walked that line where you had to be the expert, truly the expert, and really know what you're talking about, or you can't do this stuff. You can't tell people things if you don't actually know what you mean, right? So this is why I say on my channel, right? If you don't have expertise, then get expertise, even if it takes you a year or 2 years or whatever. See, what's interesting about this is that between my batteries, the atomizers, the coils, and the PVA 40 mod and all that stuff, right? I started my channel in 2013. I created all this stuff by 2015. I did it in 2 years. Love Sophie. Sophie
rewrap batteries and they don't put the correct numbers on the batteries. So if you're seeing something that has 60 amps, it's not. It's rewrapped. There's no 60 amp battery out there. So these batteries, and you can buy them in packs of 2 or 4. They have 5 different kinds. They're all labeled A, B, C, D, E, depending on whether you're just a beginner or an advanced user, and is the type A battery. And as you can see, it is a 10 amp battery labeled at 3,500 milliamps and 150 watts.
Yeah. So, you know, we did this for a while. We had our own website. We had, you know, stores that bought wholesale from us. We would sell to the stores at like $5 a cell if you buy like 1,000 cells. And we would sell them at like, let me think, $20 for a pair and then $38 for 4. And basically, we made the difference between saving on shipping. That way, we're basically still getting the same margins whether you buy 2 or 4, but the customer is still seeing some savings because of the shipping. That's how we had our business set up. Let me see what else I could show you guys. Oh, look at these charts that I made, right? So I had this. This is for ohms, and then this is for wattage, you know? Like, if I'm boring you guys with this stuff, I mean, hey, they brought it up. So like, I'll just show you all of it. And then I used to have like this Western Mountain radio, right? Like battery stuff. And then I had to graph, you know, the full discharge curve. And then this was the pulse curve. I don't even remember anymore. I got to show you something else really cool. So that the battery packaging and stuff like that, right? So I had to draw it myself and send it to China. Okay. So your boy Pegasus knows how to do packaging as well. So when you see this packaging, and then you look at this was the final product, right? And then these are my wrappers, and then this is my inner box and my outer box. Yeah, we did so many cool things. So this one says entry level, and then casual vapor, vape enthusiast, full range performance. All right. And then this one says competition grade. This is for like, you know, your super cloud chasers and stuff like that. And then these were, you know, some of the wrappers that we put together. Let me see what else I can show. Oh, yeah, right. This was you know, what you saw with the video with Matt Marana with like the ABCD. That was the first iteration of it. This was the final iteration of it after it went into ABCDE, right? And I remember I wanted to do a progression where we just go from blue to yellow, because I didn't want to go from green to red or whatever, because red kind of sounds like stop, you know? So I didn't want people to be thrown off by that, because I don't want people to think like, you know, even subconsciously that one battery was better than the other, because everybody is a different vapor, and, you know, different people need different things. So yeah, this was a photo taken by Mike Vapes. I really appreciate this one. This one was very artistic, and we used this on the website as like one of our main photos. So that was really nice of him to do. Yeah, I mean, he only did it for like his show and stuff, but that was really cool to work with. So, you know, now you guys know, right? Like, the truth is, your boy's done it all. Okay. I get into a hobby, I figure out like, hey, there's a problem here, right? The batteries, there is a problem here. The vape, the mod is like, you know, I did my best with that, but everything could have failed. You know, I pulled through with most of it, because when I did this stuff, I'm not like 100% newbie to product development. I was just a noob to vape stuff. So yeah, a lot of things could have went sideways, but essentially I came through with pretty much every single project that I have ever put together. So to try to, you know, bring this up.
It's from people claiming they never received products that they had purchased. To be fair, I
never received products that they have purchased. Right. So I just showed you the subscriber who's got it, as well as other confirmations. And in the same Reddit posts and stuff, people said that they got it.
Can't confirm any of that. I'm not accusing anyone of anything.
He can't confirm any of that because he didn't read any of that. Just because, exactly just like when he went to my website and saw the war plan, and then he didn't read the rest of it, where he could have just scrolled down a little bit, and at the same time showed it to you guys on screen, and you could read it for yourself, that it says product development from factory to your door.
But I suggest you go check out that information and make your own decisions. Things go wrong in business all the time. What matters is how you present yourself, especially when you're claiming to be the expert and asking people for money based on their trust. Like I said before when talking about pallet resellers, if someone tells you that there's a problem and then sells you an easy solution, be cautious. Pegasus has criticized others for charging for coaching while doing the same thing himself for a much higher price. Maybe.
Here's the thing, right? I'm not against coaching. I've said this many times. I'm not against coaching, and I'm not even really against mystery boxes. What's in the box? What's in the class? That's all. End of story. If it's a good class, cool, good class. If there's good stuff in the box, cool, good stuff in the box. End of story. That's it. Is it good or is it bad, right? Personally, I don't really believe that like people really need a course in reselling, because you get some stuff and then you're supposed to feel your way through it. It's the beginner level stuff. It's the sandbox. How much coaching do you really need? Like that's what makes it questionable, right? It's just like kind of like saying what's a very interesting thing that we could say, like a Michelin star peanut butter and jelly, right? Like what are we going to do? We're gonna like, you know, dust it with sugar and put on some gold flakes and like what are we doing here? At the end of the day, if you can't really work with more than just PB&J and toast, like there's nothing gourmet about this thing. There's just 3 ingredients. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to reselling, there's 4 main things that you have to do, right? Sourcing, processing, listing, shipping, and then we're done. And then you build a course around this. Now I'm going to suspect, okay, are you maybe inflating something in order to make this a little bit more robust? And then, you know, I absolutely caught them, right? With that whole 131 rule that was really Dan Martell's teaching, and they never credited the guy.
The price tag means his method really does work. But before anyone drops $2,000, they should understand exactly what they're paying for and what the risks are. Selling a $30 monthly course is a low-risk item, but charging $2,000 for coaching is higher risk, especially if you understand all the risks involved in white label manufacturing. I actually hope I'm wrong about all this. I hope Pegasus is running a super successful business and that he's genuinely helping the people that come to him for coaching. But when someone tears down others to make themselves look like the only solution and then uses my...
This is the second time that he has used the word tear down others. And I just want you to keep that in mind, because you're going to hear something in a second.
My face and my video in the process, that crosses a line for me. I have to call it like I see it. This isn't about revenge. This is about awareness.
You know, guys, this is one of the hardest critiques up to date so far, because this one changes the whole narrative, right? The final thoughts on this one is like, you know, are there any good people anymore? Because ultimately, the intent of no...
First of all, this one was based off of the video that's done about Kyle Carver of Thrift Boss, okay? And basically what happens in this video was that you guys already know, okay? The whole video makes every single talking point that I've ever made, including painting private labeling as the exit. What? If private, okay, let's not use the word private labeling, right? Let's say A and B, right? So you're saying activity A and then activity B is the exit. So what does that make activity A? The trap? You know what I mean? Like where you get stuck and the only way out is activity B. So you just threw reselling under the bus. That's number one. And number two, like every single critique that I've ever made, he goes into it and even more. He was the one who said that all of this stuff is just like a highlight reel. That's not what really happens. So basically you've been bamboozled, right? You're being romanticized on that. Look, everybody understands that you make highlight reels for like sports, but because most of us watch sports for entertainment and we want to see the highlights, get it out of the way, get the dopamine. But when it comes to reselling stuff, if you're just selling highlights all the time, now it becomes kind of a false advertisement, right? Now it becomes kind of gaslighty. That's the difference, because you're not really expecting that out of reselling. people want to say, oh, I love your content, it's so relatable, you know, you have the most honest content, just to find out that no, none of it is honest content. That's what he said in this thing. That's what he was admitting to. And then he was saying that like all the resellers do it, and he just wants to be very clear that when he talks about all of them, he's also talking about himself, and somehow that makes that okay. So I'm the only person who speaks the antithesis of stuff, and that's why I get to say that this whole thing is a farce and it's very egregious. That's
knowing
why.
That somebody knew better, right?
Exactly. Because ultimately, when he started to spill the beans on this, now I was just like, you know, at first I was just thinking, okay, look, reselling is the entry level thing. It's within grasp, it's within reach. That's what they know how to do. So this is what they're sticking to. I get that. Okay. So you don't want to budge, you're stubborn on this. This is what I know. I'm not too trusting of other things. I've probably tried other things and I've been burned. I get that. Okay. There's a certain psychology there. But then when you turn around and just be like, yeah, you know, I know Pegasus way is better, even though you stop saying Pegasus's way. You said private labeling, and that was the only solution that you listed. You didn't list any other solution. That's what made it so weird.
It brings you into an area of maliciousness.
I can't understand this.
Because that's the problem. There's always room for forgiveness if it was an accident. Like you could let it go, you could overlook something. But then when you know they knew better, and then they did it anyways.
Okay,
and they
you guys
knew
know
the
what
answer.
I said over here. So let me.
At the end, it wouldn't be an F. It would be a WTF. Like,
Right.
why would you do something like this? Just openly tell people that you know better, but you know, why not?
Right, exactly, right? It's less forgivable when somebody tells you to your face that they openly know better. He has some nerve to play this clip, not refute it, and then say I'm tearing other people down.
Anyways, guys, that's the video. Like I can't even end this with a proper closer, guys. Like, be careful out there, because now if you don't know, now you know.
And to be clear, I don't want this video to come off as hate. He's careful to not attack people personally in his...
There you have it, folks. There you have it. He's careful not to attack people personally, but I don't like it when he tears people down. Bro, which is it? This is how disgusting this is. You know, deep down inside, you know I don't attack anybody personally. But what is this video about? You trying to attack me personally. You trying to paint me in a negative light. You try to, you know, pull up and dig up dirt on me just to find out that the reason why all of that stuff is deleted is because all the vapors had to collectively delete a lot of stuff. We had to. And the industry got taken away by the government. And then you try to paint it as shady practices. And now it's dragged out to the light. Well, guess what? It just shows even more credibility. Good luck, dude.
And I actually can respect that. The world needs more sharing of knowledge and ideas. And
exactly. It needs more sharing of knowledge and ideas than live up to your own words. But instead, I'm banned from this. He blocked me. That's what actually happened. Okay. So ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't care what their demeanor is. I may come off as, you know, mean-spirited or whatever. These are the actual bad guys. Okay. This is what actual bad people sound like. You can't refute me on the talking points that I make. You don't want to debate me on business mechanics of what actually matters. You want to switch over to, like, you know, intent and identity and feelings and what I like to do. If that's what you like to do, then great. That's what you like to do. Then keep doing it. And then you make your videos and I'll make mine. That's the difference. But if you're gonna come over and then you say you're genuinely worried about people, right? Okay, well, what are you gonna do for them other than just naysay and then keep them fenced in this circle? Are you really uplifting people in any way? I would uplift people who wants it. Okay, if you want to do multiple quantity stuff or whatever, then subscribe to my channel and then we'll get there. I'll be doing a Sunday series specifically on that. End of story. because these people don't know how to do it, and now you're jealous, and now you want to protect your market because I'm the only threat. How is this not exactly what's happening here? So loungers, before we conclude this video, I'd like to read for you guys a comment that I got on our most recent video that actually hit me very hard as well. And I'd like to read it to you guys. It comes from Deb's Zen Life. And this was posted 3 days ago. I wanted to show you this, that it is absolutely a real post. I believe you have empathy and are trying to help by pointing out some of this stuff. Many are going to get defensive when you hold a mirror up to them. If you weren't hitting a nerve, they wouldn't care anyways and just ignore it. I started following these reseller pages a few years ago. I am familiar with eBay, but also to help with an intervention for a family member who has turned her house into something out of the show Hoarders due to reselling and listening to the gurus. Her husband told me when she is not sourcing at the Goodwill bins, thrift stores, garage sales, she is glued to YouTube reseller content. I had to check it out. I have noticed many things that you have. At least my family member hasn't quit her real job. I'm convinced she is a shopping addict and can't resist the dopamine hit she gets when she comes across a good find. After reading comments under videos, I see that there are many in the same boat as her and can't admit it. Lots of comments about family complaining, needing to rent storage, etc. Never heard the term death pile until visiting YouTube. Same. When I first started this channel and I referred to the death piles, I was corrected by my own viewers saying, no, Peg, a death pile is not unsold goods. It is unlisted goods. And that really made my jaw drop, because having goods on hand and not putting them on the shelf is kind of a cardinal sin in doing business, because there's just no chance of things selling if you don't list it. Some of these posts are just downright sad too, worrying that they can't make their rent or pay utilities when sales get bad. The responses aren't realistic. Things like, just hang in there, it will get better. It's like a bunch of addicts in a weird codependent relationship. Some of these same desperate people are the ones being encouraged to sign up for courses too. OMG. I try to be real, and it's not mean-spirited, but if you are worried about keeping the utilities on, you have already hit rock bottom. Interesting fact, in just 2 years, I have seen many of these YouTube resellers quit or go part-time themselves. I read another post from someone who has been watching YouTube reseller content since it got started, and she said 90% of them are gone. I didn't know that. Some of the current successful ones are seeing lower eBay sales too, and have pivoted to platforms like Whatnot and or making different video content. They have admitted it. I have also lost count of all the videos talking about how many are pivoting with their eBay business. If you are on a successful path, there wouldn't be a need to constantly do this. Sorry this was long, but I see the contradictions that speaks volumes. Many people who fall into this echo chamber are messing up their lives like my relative. So I replied, no, don't apologize at all. I read all of it. This was very moving. I totally relate that there is almost no way to communicate with certain people without being misunderstood as mean-spirited. I get comments on my videos telling me to back off as if I gave a speech in their living room without permission. By any chance, would you be interested in coming on the show and telling your story? I want to be clear that my observations are about the culture of reselling. So her response was very long, and it starts with, I'm not a video person, but you can feel free to share anything relevant that I wrote. So I decided to go ahead and make this easier on the viewer by adding a voiceover to it. And here is that clip.
I'm not really a video person, but you can share anything I wrote if you think it's relevant. Honestly, you could probably write a book about the culture of reselling. It's been quite the rabbit hole I went down looking into all the different parts of it. And as you can probably imagine, I've only scratched the surface of what's been happening with my family. I'll add a few more examples. Hopefully this reminds people that there are real lives being negatively affected. There was an unexpected death in the family, and nobody could even come to the house because the living room was filled with eBay totes stacked to the ceiling. Out-of-town relatives had to book hotels because both spare bedrooms were packed too. And this person isn't unclean or a hoarder. It's shocking. I honestly feel like she's been brainwashed by YouTube. Recently I found out she doesn't even have an emergency fund because she keeps reinvesting in never-ending sourcing hauls. And I know she's not alone. I've read enough comments to see it's widespread. Even some YouTubers are giving up their living space with people pointing out fire and safety hazards in their own homes. I don't have time to watch them all, but how many more are there? This is why I use the word addiction. She knows exactly what she's doing when she goes sourcing. She's found $300 sweaters and $1,000 watches that others missed. That's what keeps her going back. It's that thrill of the hunt. I tried explaining that it's not repeatable in the way she wants it to be. It's like spending hours digging through a haystack for one needle. Even if it's just a hobby, it eats up enormous time. Then she comes home from Goodwill exhausted and doesn't even list the stuff. No wonder listing services exist. Most resellers end up in the exact same situation. That's why the death pile problem is so common. Honestly, it makes me wonder, are these listing services just a response to a problem the gurus helped create? I get that it's hard to talk sense into people. You mentioned in one of your videos that some YouTube resellers have multiple storage units size, that rent must destroy their margins. It's not mean-spirited to point that out. They're the ones putting it online. And it's wild that people tell you to back off like they own the internet. Replenishable items are clearly the smarter route. Do they seriously see you as public enemy number one just for stating the obvious? That's insane. One thing I haven't heard you mention, unless I missed it, is the whole best offer thing. On Poshmark, sellers can't opt out. On eBay, even if you turn it off, buyers message you anyway. That doesn't happen in legitimate e-commerce. You can't send Macy's or Amazon a message saying, "Hey, can I pay half?" It's ridiculous. eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, they're all still online flea markets. Nothing wrong with that. I love eBay. But let's call it what it is. What really bothers me is the human side, people being taken advantage of. I'm in my 50s, so I remember life before the internet. What's happening now reminds me of those old work-from-home scams. And the sad part, so many people resell because they need flexibility. Parents with kids, people with disabilities, low-income folks, those are exactly the people who shouldn't be getting exploited, but because they need flexibility, they get pulled in. That's why I'm glad you're exposing the pitfalls of this kind of reselling. At least now, people can go in with their eyes open and make a truly informed choice.